Let's go to Richie in Kingston. Richie.
Johnny, that's a nice breakfast. Hello, Michael. Hello, Dan. How are you guys?
Good. What's up?
No, Dan's
Here's
not
what's
here.
up. Listen, both of you understand baseball more than anybody that I know of, other than my father, God rest his soul. Listen, this is one thing which perturbs me. Boone cannot actually make these ball players, and I mean the guys that you put on the field, hit the ball, catch the ball, throw the ball. However, he's the commander as far as the bullpen, so he makes the majority of the moves. Now, please tell me this. Why does he keep on going to Holmes? He is not a closer. He's worse than Chapman ever was. When he comes in, he gives you a heart attack.
Well, what does that matter?
Blown 10 saves.
What does that matter?
Pardon me?
What does it matter if he gives you a heart attack as long as he gets the job done? Now, he's blown 10 saves, but as a closer, Richie, I don't know if you realize, he made the All-Star team.
Michael, you and I both know. All-Star team is one thing. The Yankees should have had at least 6 more wins. He blew 10 saves.
I get it. He has not had a good year, but you can't say he stinks. Well, he made the All-Star team, Rich.
Who do you want to see close?
Yeah, who do you want to close instead of him?
Go in that bullpen, and there's 3 guys in there that you could pick and make them a closer.
Yeah, who are they?
Clay Holmes is not a closer.
Well, tell me the guys that can close.
Doesn't get a 1, 2,
Tell
3.
me the guys who can close. I'd like to know.
I think that guy Ian is pretty good.
He's been hurt for 3 months. Ian Hamilton's been hurt for 3 months. What else?
I know that. He's hurt for 3 months. What about that young kid? I can't think of his name. Winters?
Who?
The young kid that comes in on the 6th or 7th inning. Oh, God. I can't think of his name right now.
Well,
but the point I'm trying to make
no
is
idea if any of these guys can close. Now, I agree with you. Holmes has struggled. He's got 10 blown saves, but you got to give me an option. If there's a flamethrower, strikeout guy that they're missing on, then you should kill Boone for not going to that guy. Michael, that guy doesn't exist. For all I know, that they can bring in somebody who would make it worse.
But people,
all indications are they would.
People are myopic about their own team, which I understand. They're a fan of that said team. How do Met fans feel about Edwin Diaz, who's a great closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gave up a go-ahead winning run in San Diego to Jackson Merrill, and then gave up a grand slam to Corbin Carroll.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. I think the best closer in baseball is probably Josh Hader, and he's a thrill a minute every now and then.
But I don't even want to go there. I do think they can do better than Holmes in theory. I just don't know if it's on their roster. So listen, I don't want to kill the guy, but he brought up a guy that's on the IL and can't think of the other guy's name. So that basically the answer is I don't know. He's frustrated with Holmes. I get you should be frustrated with Holmes. He leads the league in blown saves. But for all we know, Boone can bring in somebody else who would be even worse. I have to assume they know better than we do. He must still be their best option. Now, if you want to kill Cashman for not getting a closer at the deadline, have at it. What closer was available, Michael?
No.
What closer did a team get that the Yankees could have gotten that would have been better than Holmes?
The closest was the guy that the Padres acquired from the Marlins.
Okay. So if you want to get
Scott, that's the closest.
All right, so if you want to call up and kill Cashman for not getting Scott, well then I think that's a good retort. That's a good phone call. But just I hate Holmes. I'm going to kill Boone for bringing him in. Who do you want him to bring in? Anybody? Well, anybody could be 10 times worse.
You call up and say the one thing I can't really handle. He stinks. He doesn't stink. Has he had a great year? No. He's lost. He's blown 10 saves. 7 of them ended up being Yankee losses. So if they'd won just 4 of those 7, they'd be in much better shape. I get it. So I'm not saying he's Sparky Lyle, Goose Gossage, and Mariano Rivera thrown into one pile. He's not. He's not a perfect closer, but he doesn't stink everybody. I love he makes you sweat. So what? So what? Mariano's a once-in-a-lifetime pitcher, so this guy makes you sweat.
I think it's a problem. And if you don't want to say he stinks, fine. But that's Boone's problem for continuing to go with him? What is their alternative, Michael? They don't have anybody that throws 96 that's going to miss bats and strike people out. That's what they're missing. And that's why Holmes is a thrill a minute, because he puts the ball in play. And whenever you do that, Michael, your heart's going to be in your throat, because there's a chance it'll find a seam. There's a chance they'll throw the ball around the infield and they'll blow the save. So I get it. He's not the perfect closer. You'd like to have somebody else. Who?
Yeah, you don't have an answer. If you don't have an answer, then Boone is going with the best guy he has available. He doesn't think the other guys can close. He doesn't think that Canely can close. He just doesn't think it. The organization probably doesn't think it.
And if he just for blanks and giggles decided to have Canely come in to close and he blows the save, what are the calls going to be the next day? Why didn't he use Holmes?
Right. Don,
nothing makes a manager worse. You've always said that than a bad bullpen.
Let's go to Jack in Medina. Jack.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Can I talk, get back to a little bit of baseball?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, Clay Holmes, you're right. He does not stink. None of these guys at this level, even single A, none of these guys stink. The players, I know a few players that have made it to double A. They tell me the biggest thing is consistency. We've seen Clay Holmes when he's lights out. Is there any chance, and they tell me it's all about mechanics, repeating the mechanics over and over. Is there any way you guys could somehow convince the Yankees to get maybe Matt Blake or Mike Harkey on the show to pick their brain and see what they do to these guys to get them, to get them consistent?
Well, I mean, they have all these high-tech Rapsodo machines that show the exact release point. I think a lot of it with Clay has to do when he sits too long. And then, the Yankees have a rule they don't pitch anybody more than 2 days. So it's a delicate balancing act. Sometimes when he's too strong, his sinker stays up. Then he relies on the slider. So, I mean, I think they're pretty consistent, and they work on those guys to have consistency. I can't speak to what they do. I mean, I'll talk to Matt Blake about it, but I think a lot of it has to do with usage. And with a closer, you get 5 games in a row that aren't save situations, and you don't use them, and then you bring him into a game that's not a save situation because you don't want him stale, and he pitches, and then the next day's a save situation, and he does well, and then the next day's a save situation, you don't use them because you don't use them 3 days in a row. It's a tightrope walk. It really is. I don't know. I mean, you're using the word consistency because sometimes he's great and sometimes he's not. Who can explain it? He was great over the first 2.5 months of the season to make the All-Star team. He was great.
I do think you're right about the balls in play. You know how baseball is, Michael. A broken bat single, you can hit a ball as hard as you ever hit it, and it's an out. The reason you love strikeouts is it takes the element of surprise out. The good luck, bad luck. You strike them out. Done. Sit down. But once the ball's in play, a lot of things can happen. And we have seen, I'm not going to make excuses for him, Michael, but you do see sometimes at Holmes, you go, God, he blew the save, but did anybody hit the ball hard?
Right.
But the ball's in play, and there could be errors. The ball finds a hole, and sometimes it's just like one of those things. He is what he is. Sometimes he hits it hit to the shortstop. Sometimes it finds a hole. Is it just that?
I don't know. It's hard to figure out because there have been some blown saves where he's been victimized by balls finding holes, and other times he's been squared up. So I don't know. He's been inconsistent. He really has. But it's not like they're not working on his consistency.